Hello, my name is Tasso Comenescu and welcome to eliteguitarist.com. In this tutorial, I will be teaching you how to play Manuel Ponce's Prelude No. 2 in A major, which is part of a set of 12 preludes dedicated to the great Spanish guitarist Andres Segovia. Let's check it out. This second prelude in A major is one of my favorites. There's lots of quick mood changes in this piece, so we'll be covering subtle nuance, whether it's colors or dynamic changes, and those things combined with technical suggestions will help you take this piece to the next level, in my opinion. I highly recommend for supplemental listening that you check out Christopher Parkening's In the Spanish Style record, where he records this piece along with the first, fourth, and sixth prelude from the set of 12. When you're getting ready to start learning this piece, and even if you already know the piece, one of the ways that you can warm up to practice it or perform it is to practice your dotted rhythms in your right hand. And what I mean by that is a note that is longer and a note that is shorter. So very simply put, you can isolate the right hand, plant your thumb maybe like on one of the bass strings like the D, the A, or the low E string, and free stroke MI in the right hand on your B string. And you can change strings. Because when you look at the score, and I always like to do this, you take a bird's eye view, kind of see what's going on. You'll notice, especially starting in bar 13 on, basically bar 13 all the way down to bar 30, there's a million, not a million, but there's a lot of dotted rhythms. Ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. So nice and quick. Like this, AM. And I just like to plant my thumb. And it's on one string. So there is one, try it on low E too. Now, so there's one particular time in the piece where I use AM, so I practice that one as well. And just a reminder, I is index, M is middle, A is ring finger, and your P is your thumb, okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4 in the left hand. Just a quick review. Last thing before we start in measure 1, we're in A major, so there's 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And the tempo is marked vivo, so if you're not really familiar with what that means, you want to set your metronome, always good to have one, preferably the old school kind with you, to eliminate distractions. And you're going to want to set it at 208 when you're thinking of a target tempo, okay? The time signature is 3/8, meaning 3/8 notes per measure. Now you can think of this in 1, 2, 3, so 3 beats, or you can think of it as just one big beat every measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, sort of like that. And I will give you some tips on how to count some of the trickier rhythms later on in the piece as we get to the dotted section. So in measure 1, let's start. We have a marking here to place your second finger, which is the middle finger of your left hand, on the 5th fret of the B string. And that's where you see that 2 that's circled. So you don't want to play an open E. You want to play the E at the 5th fret. And already you can hear the color difference, so we'll talk more about that. And you want to plant your thumb, P, on the 4th string, because you're going to need it there for the bass notes coming up in a few measures, okay? And all free stroke here. So you play with your index finger, the first note, and then you hammer on with your 4th finger onto the F sharp. And you can think of it now as quarter notes just to help with counting. 1 and. Okay? And then you go back to the E, so you want to leave that second finger down. And that's with your middle finger. And then index finger is going to play the D with your 4th finger at the 7th fret of the G string. And then you're going to use your M finger to pull off C sharp to B, which is the 6th to the 4th fret. So that's measure 1, all in the 4th position. And when we're talking positions, it means where your index finger is and then your other fingers line up. So even though I'm playing the 5th fret, I'm all in the 4th position because of where my index finger lies. So measure 1, slowly. Notice how I start measure 2 with that same E at the 5th fret of the B string, and I use a rest stroke, driving to that melody note. One thing about the left hand, when you have this many slurs in these first 8 bars, you want to have your left hand in a center position. So a left position would be when the palm of your hand is more facing you. A right position is when the palm of your hand is facing away from you. A center position is when the palm of your hand is just facing directly perpendicular to the guitar, okay? So you want to have that there to execute the slurs. Because if you're off to the side like this, you can get a little sloppy. So nice and tight. Feel that pop sound. You can use that as a warm-up too. Like F sharp to E from 4 to 2, and then C sharp to B. And then do hammer-ons as well. It's great for your warm-up. And I'm a big fan of giving you these insights that help me. So that was measure 1. Now we're in measure 2. We start with an E, then we have a D, and then we have a C sharp and an E. Okay? So that E, we play a rest stroke with our second finger in our left hand, and then that I, because you rest stroked into the G string, you're going to use it to play free stroke the D with your 4th finger at the 7th fret of the G string. Okay? So you use that rest stroke, leaves your second finger down because you're going to need it on beat 3, beat 2, and then beat 3, which I use I and M together there. And that's a C sharp with your 3rd finger and the 6th fret, and an E with your 2nd finger again, which you've had down this whole time at beat 3. So this is bars 1 and 2 together. Notice there's a tie now into bar 3. You're going to leave your 2nd finger down. You take your index finger and you find the 4th fret of the G string in 4th position. You play the B. And then on beat 2, you're going to use P, which has been planted there the whole time, on the A at the 7th fret of the D string with your 4th finger. And then you play with your M finger the E again on beat 2, which is a quarter note, so it's going to last into beat 3. And then G sharp at the 6th fret of the D string. So bar 3 looks like this. So I've had that 2nd finger down the whole time. And now you're going to use your 3rd finger as a guide finger to slide down to the 2nd position. So your 3rd finger's at the 4th fret, F sharp, 4th fret with your thumb, A with your 1st finger at the 2nd fret of the G string, and then E with your M finger, 4th fret of the B string, and you're going to do one of those pull-offs to your 2nd finger at the D, 3rd fret of the B string. I like to lean on that. And then use M again. And if you're struggling with that slur, leave the other fingers out and just practice that. So, the first phrase of the piece, bars 1 through 4, slowly. Plant your thumb, 4th string. One more time. You can hear that wonderful counter melody because you have the first melody and then it passes it off to the accompanying melody. And you have that sort of D major sound, D9 sus chord there for our theory nuts. So measures 1 through 4, first phrase. And then we have an identical replica or a sequence of the same melody taking down a whole step to the D. So this is in bars 5 through 8. This is the next phrase we're going to take a look at. Again, the only place you're going to do a rest stroke is with your index finger at the start of measure 6, like we did at the start of measure 2. So, thumb is again planted on the 4th string. Your 2nd finger's already here. We're going to have the D hammer on to the E at the 5th fret of the B string with your 4th finger. And then back to the D. And now, you play a C sharp with your index finger at the 2nd fret of the B string, and then a pull-off from the B to the A, 4th fret to the 2nd fret of the G string. So we have a couple slurs there you can use in your warm-up. Same sequence that we had here. Really hear that snap center position sound. Not at an angle, center position. Okay, so that's bar 5, slowly. And then you go back to the D at the start of bar 6, rest stroke with index finger. Okay. And then you do a pull off here. Okay, at the start of bar 6. D pulls off to C sharp, 2nd string, 3rd fret to 2nd fret. And then on beat 3, you have D and B. D is with your 2nd finger at the 3rd fret of the B string. G is with your 3rd finger, 4th fret of the G string. Bar 6. Thumb is planted on the 4th string. Make sure that melody note ties over into bar 7. Bar 7, you have A with your index finger, 2nd fret of the G string, and then leave that D down with your 2nd finger and extend your 1st finger. So here you're in left position, right? So you can extend your hand. G sharp, 1st fret with that D, and then F sharp with your 3rd finger at the 4th fret of the D string, and then use that as a guide finger to come down to the start of bar 8, where you have E sharp, G sharp, and D. So 3rd fret of the D string, 1st fret of the G string, 3rd fret of the B string. P, I, M in the right hand. Give it some English. Pull off from your 4th finger to your 2nd finger, which is D, to C sharp at the 2nd fret, and then re-articulate that with M. And you want to make sure that your right hand fingerings in 5 through 8 are basically identical to the ones in 1 through 4, because this is a sequenced phrase, and then you can really grind that in, and that'll allow you to speed up the tempo later on. So this is bars 5 through 8 slowly. The next phrase we're going to take a look at is measures 9 through 12. Here you can really utilize some dynamic changes. You want to plant your thumb at certain areas in preparation for the next bass note, so we'll point that out. And then managing the timbre, meaning the quality of sound, where you play warmer versus brighter, closer to the bridge. And then managing the volume of open strings, because you don't want them to jump out, so you need to re-articulate them a bit less than your fretted notes. And in measure 12, there's a really quick run where you want to make sure you're using IM, IM. So here we go, measures 9 through 12. You have this F sharp minor chord at the 2nd fret. So you're going to bar 2/3 or 4 strings. You're playing the A and the C sharp as a part of the bar, and then your thumb is playing the 4th string with your 3rd finger, 4th fret, that's the F sharp. Hammer on with your middle finger to the D at the 3rd fret, and do it again. And while you're doing that, you can move your thumb to the 5th string in preparation of bar 10. Slide up 2 frets with your middle finger, and play the E at the 5th fret of the B string. This takes us into bar 10. 1 and 3 are free to put down on the C sharp power chord, we could say. C sharp at the 4th fret of the A string, G sharp, 3rd finger, 6th fret of the D string, hammering on to A with your 4th finger. Again, anytime you have those slurs, center position, right? And then you have an open B. So measures 9 and 10. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's some dynamic markings. You could play forte, and then piano. And that could be a whole practice session, just going over that. And you explore the subtle nuances. That's what makes this piece magical. And in bar 11, you go back to that F sharp minor chord. have that first ta-ta rhythm I talked about in the opening that you can use as part of your warm-up. So the F sharp, 2/3 bar, so you got that bar there, and then your 3rd finger, 4th fret of the D string, and then D, E. So 2nd fret to 5th fret on the B string, MI, or IM if that's more comfortable for you, but I personally think MI is the best way to go. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, dum, ba, ba. And then that's got to stay down to ring over into bar 12. Use your 4th finger to hold that note over. P plays the C sharp in the bass, which is the 4th fret of the A string, and then you have this wonderful cross string run, ducka ducka, 2 and 3 and, which is A to open B. A is at the 2nd fret with your index finger of the G string. And so you want to move your thumb now to the 4th string, so it's ready to play the downbeat of bar 13. Okay? So again, you're coming from bar 11. I want you to watch my thumb here. As soon as I play bar 11, I move. I roll the chord slightly and I plant my thumb on the 5th string. As soon as I do that quick taka-taka run, my thumb's on the 4th string, ready to go. So this is bars 9 through 12 now, slowly. And I sort of see that as the first large chunk of the piece, bars 1 through 12. So you might want to section that off in your practice and work on those things as a unit.